Welcome in, Loons fans, to Loon Talk, week number 7 here on Score North Podcast Network, anywhere you find your podcast, as well as Score North's YouTube channel, My name is Jonathan Harrison, alongside Dan Terrar once again. Dan, how you doing, sir?
Hello, excellent. Good to see you again. I wish we were preparing for a match soon, but we're not.
We've got 19 days until the next one, so buckle in. Let's start off here. If you are watching the YouTube version of this, you notice that Dan is in front of a very nice bar. I just want to congratulate you on a fantastic-looking bar behind you.
You got to have a place to go, Jonathan.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Remember that. When you get old like me, make sure you've got a place to go, always.
When I'm done with the diapers that are behind me with the kids, I will set up my bar a little bit better. Now, we're just...
Yes, right now, diapers are just too much of a priority for you.
Yes, unfortunately. Not for me, but for the kids.
Yes.
Jonathan Harrison here. You can find me at JohnHarrison90 on Twitter. You can find Dan Terrar on Twitter at Dan Terrar, DanTerrarHaar. If you're watching on the YouTube stream, it's right below us in our name tags. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe us. It helps us get found anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts. Dan, let's just jump into it right here. We will review the 1-1 draw at Real Salt Lake. It was it's a road point. It's about as much as I can say from that game, unfortunately. I'll take the road point going into a 3-week break, but, nothing to really write home about.
No, it really wasn't. It was a tough game. I found it a very tough game to call, the play-by-play. There just wasn't much flow on either side, and it was choppy, really choppy at times. And they just I was not impressed with the play of either team. It probably deserved to end in a 1-1 draw.
Yeah.
What I came away with that, Jonathan, was that this is the third match, and it's not a great trend because it's not going to last all season. This is the third straight match where they've needed a very late goal. Of course, fortunately, the last 2 times it was to get a win and 3 points. This time they needed a late goal. Was it 79th minute or 80th minute on the goal from Nico?
Yeah.
Man, you don't want to. It's great to get those late goals, and it's fun and it's exciting, but you don't want to depend on that.
Yeah, I think you're going down a path that kind of leads to the rest of the talkers that I had planned out here. Is that
okay?
They still have issues hitting the net. They shot the ball 12 times on the night. They only found 1 on target the entire time, and that's been a trend all season long. We thought it was just kind of a blip when it started in Seattle, then it happened against Real Salt Lake at home. We're like, hopefully this isn't a worrying thing going into the future. Here we are, 7 or 6 games into the season. We're still talking about they can't get shots on net.
Yeah, taking the most shots in the league, and not scoring goals, and you'd rather have that number be much smaller and have more goals. I think I'm not sure if that changed after the match, but I think going into the match last week, Jan Gregush had the most missed shots, or the most shots without having a shot on goal. I think he has 10 shots on the season, and none of them are on goal. And that's got to change,
Yeah.
And he's too good of a player to have that stat hanging over his head. So, that's a big part of it. Is to get those shots, you are doing something right. And we've talked about this in that 0-4 start to the season, that even during that time they were getting a lot of shots. Now, not great opportunities, not grade A chances, but if you're getting those large number of shots like that, you have to be doing something right. Because if you're just getting your butt whooped, you're not coming up with that many shots.
Yeah.
So I think that is probably what, if I were Adrian Heath, that's what I would say. Hey, listen, we're doing some things right. We've just got to fine tune it now so that those shots are a little bit better quality. And then, of course, we have to hit the dang goal. So,
yeah. I think if you're looking for a positive out of the first 7 games, they're, as you said, they're creating a ton of shots. One of the most in the league so far this season. So their attacking play is finding the ability to shoot the ball and finding spaces to shoot the ball. It's just getting quality chances that they're struggling to do at this point. So hopefully with a little bit more time, they now have basically another preseason here with these next 3 weeks off. No games taking place in the next 19 days. So they have, as I said, another preseason, especially with the 2 new players that they brought in, the 2 new starters that they brought in. It's time for those players to gel in practice. Hopefully by the time the 19th comes around, those players are itching to play another team instead of each other, and they just unleash a handful of goals against Dallas, which would be nice to see. But yeah, it's frustrating to see them continue to struggle to hit the net and challenge opposing goalkeepers. And this time you had essentially a backup goalkeeper in, because they took away our one storyline going into the game in David Ochoa, who was off to play bench warmer for the U.S. men's national team. So we didn't have that for us this week. It's a road point, as I said. We'll take it. Wasn't the most inspiring of performances, but they did it without Emmanuel Reynoso. I think that's important. We went into the match saying that. We talked about that in the pre-match show, that they needed to figure out, or they needed to know that they could score goals and do something like this without Emmanuel Reynoso, their best player. And I think you're going to take the positive out of that. They got a 1-1 draw. I would assume you'd want more, but I think there's still a positive there that they were able to do this without Emmanuel Reynoso.
Yeah, and they threw I don't think it was by design, but because Emmanuel Reynoso was not in the lineup, Real Salt Lake focused their attention differently, and they gave Ja'Cory Hayes a lot of space.
Absolutely.
And you could see the difference. And if you were wondering how good Ja'Cory Hayes is compared to Emmanuel Reynoso, we saw the difference. Ja'Cory had a good match. But if Emmanuel Reynoso had that much space and that much time, if he was given that, like he was early on in last season, before other teams figured out that he was the guy they had to mark, we would have won that match easily. Because he would have created or scored at least a couple more goals. So we really saw how much we need him. But you're right. We got a point on the road, which is always good in the MLS, and you did it without your most skilled player, and that only bodes well. I mean, we got a chance to see Unu a little bit. He's going to need a little time to build some more chemistry. We saw flashes there. Very disappointing that Fragapane didn't get to play because of paperwork. Well, isn't it? This league is just so amazingly strange. This is a player we've been talking about for weeks and weeks, and then he's in the country, and then it's like, you're tracking this whole thing, and he's going to play now. He's ready to go, and then nope, he doesn't have his paperwork done.
He's been playing every 3 days for his club, for his former club in Argentina, including literally playing the night before they announced the signing. So he basically boarded the plane right after that game and came right up here. And he was perfectly game fit. He was ready to go, and unfortunately, because of paperwork, he can't play, which was disappointing to see, because now they have to wait. Now we have to wait another 19 days for him to see his debut. But we did get to see the debut of Nico Hansen finally. Scored a ton of goals in the preseason. Unfortunately, an injury knocked him out for the first couple weeks. I liked what I saw. Showed his speed, and that's going to be dangerous coming off the bench for this club this season. So that's going to be really good to have him as kind of that backup winger behind Robin Lod and Franco Fragapane. So I liked what I saw, including getting in on the goal. I mean, he'll get credited with it. It's not going to be his most favorite goal, but it's a goal nonetheless. He'll take it.
Yeah, it was good. Like I said, we've talked about him so much. And, you finally get to see him. He comes in, and you do right away see that he's got that extra level of speed, which is what this team kind of needs. We've got a lot of skilled guys, but we don't have anybody that people have to be looking. People have to know where they are. Where is he? And he's got that kind of speed that's going to draw attention. The goal was just one of those weird situations where he made his run. He fought, and here again is where a player continues his run even after he thinks the play is over. If he doesn't do that, he's not where he needs to be to have that ball deflect off him and into the goal. As I watch that again, it makes me curious as to why Zach McMath tried to punch that one away instead of just catching it. It wasn't coming in with some incredible pace where he thought he had to redirect it over the bar. He was trying to punch that straight back out and he punched it right into Nico Hansen, went off Nico Hansen, and just trickled inside the post and never, I think it said on the broadcast, and never got to the back of the net. And as I watched it again this week one night, I said, well, why didn't he catch that? I mean, I know it's hard. You're a goalkeeper. The ball's coming in. You got to make a decision. But
right.
I'm sure if McMath had that one back, he would have played that ball much differently. But it's a goal. You get the goal you needed and get the point out of a road trip before a break. And I think if Minnesota doesn't get that goal and get that draw, it'd be a really different feel right now. And it shouldn't.
Absolutely.
Well, at one point, shouldn't make that much difference in the whole scheme of things, but it would just leave. It would have been just a really, really tough feeling to go into that break with.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get back to more of the standings in a second. I know it's your favorite thing. 7 weeks in looking at the standings. We'll get back to looking at the standing in a second. I want to get back to something you said earlier. Ja'Cory Hayes left with a lot of space because now with Emmanuel Reynoso out, Real Salt Lake really focused on shutting Robin Lod down, who, as we've mentioned time and time again, has been their best player this season besides Emmanuel Reynoso. And they shut him down. He had the least amount of touches among the starting 11 who lasted the full 90. And for a guy that's been that good this season, he can't have the least amount of touches. He has to get on the ball. The team has to find him, and Real Salt Lake really just shut him down then.
And the touches that he did get, most of those came in the later part of the first half and the second half because he had to make some adjustments. And we've talked about this before. When they take away your space, you have to find space. And he did, but he did that by dropping back. And that didn't help the offense any. And there was a few times, too, where I thought he even came back and towards the middle to try and find space. And then all of a sudden, he and Ja'Cory Hayes are occupying the same space. And it was well played by Real. And it did cause, Robin Lod some issues. And because of that, he wasn't as much of an impact. And again, that's goes to show you the importance of Emmanuel Reynoso and having a guy in the middle that draws that attention, because then both wings benefit from that. And
Absolutely.
So it'll be different when we have this. We've been talking about this full lineup, and we finally get Unu in there. And then Fragapane is not ready to go. And then now we're going to lose guys to the international play. And it's just frustrating. It just feels like we're going to be talking about this lineup, and we still haven't seen it. And we're not going to see it probably in June either.
Yeah, no, because Robin Lod's going to be out for a while.
Yeah, it depends on
Jan
when he
Gregic is going to be out. So it's just.
So it's, that's why I keep saying just be patient with this team. Mm-hmm. All they've got to do, I think, once their starting 11 is in place, and there's no more interruptions with international play, and if most everybody stays healthy, this is going to be a really good team. And as long as they make the playoffs, this team should get better and better right through August, September, and then into the end of the season. So it's just, I know what the fans are feeling. They're going, yeah. We've been hearing about this lineup and this team, and there's help coming, and there's new pieces being added, and this is the MLS. You've got to be patient because things change right through till when's the deadline? Is it? The
first deadline was today, and then
first deadline, second deadline.
It'll open up again in July. Yeah.
Yeah, and so teams are changing right up till then. And so you need to be just like any other Minnesota sports team. If you're a fan, you better learn to be patient, and this team is no exception.
What's it been since 1991 since a men's team made the finals of any sport?
Yeah.
So we're used to futility here. So you want to look at the standings?
Sure.
It's always your favorite time.
It's
always your favorite thing to do.
But that's okay. We can look at them anyway.
I think despite being second from bottom, because the Western Conference is basically just eating itself alive this season, because that's all each team is playing is the Western Conference, and the Eastern Conference is only playing the Eastern Conference. These teams are just eating themselves alive. There's so much ground can be made up with just one win. The Loons sit on 7 points. If they win against Dallas and just say no other games take place, they move up to 10 points, which moves them up to 6th place in the Western Conference. That's in playoff positions. Right. You win another game, you're up to 13 points. You're up to 4th place. You're one spot out, or you have a home playoff game. There's so much ground you can be made up so quickly because of how condensed the Western Conference is right now.
And past history would tell us, Jonathan, that that's not going to change in the next, 4 or 5 months. It's going to stay that way, and it's you hope that Minnesota can find a way to get themselves above that playoff line like they did last season, so that they aren't down the stretch with 3 games to go and they've got to get 8 points out of it, or 7 points, or worse yet, you need 9 points. So, but that's probably what it'll come down to again for the final playoff spots, is somebody having to win on decision day and get in, and that knocks somebody else out. So I hope that they can be above that fray when that happens, but I just don't see any reason why the Western Conference won't come down to the very last game, last day of regular season play.
Yeah, and part of my confidence as to where the Loons are right now is the fact that a couple of the teams above them are struggling so much. You look at Austin; they're a new club. They're struggling to find goals at the moment. I mean, they've got a really good defense on their side. They shut out Seattle at Seattle, so that's pretty good considering Seattle's one of the better teams, if not the best team in the league right now. Vancouver they're Vancouver. They've been the same Vancouver they have been for the past, 4 years at this point. LAFC are surprisingly struggling. Real Salt Lake, they're going to kind of be in and out of that playoff race all season. Portland are struggling with injuries, which is causing them a whole lot of troubles early in the season. San Jose, as you predicted earlier this season, they won't see the top of the Western Conference again. And basically, since they reached that mountaintop, they've only struggled since then. I think they've lost like 3 or 4 in a row now. They are struggling mightily. Houston, people have optimism about them. I'm not so sure on that. Just I don't believe in the depth that they have. So I think there's a ton of spots that are still open for Minnesota to grab. And we talked about it. This team and this mythical lineup we've always been talking about and previewing. Yeah. Once it comes together, this team's is probably one of the better teams in the league, and they're gonna start rattling off some wins here, I would hope. And there's plenty of places they can climb in the Western Conference, because there's a lot of teams that started off hot that aren't that good.
When this lineup is in place, we have to assume it will be, because the players are now signed. They're just trying to finish up the final details on one of them. What impresses me about this lineup is not only is it going to be by far the best lineup that Minnesota United has ever had, but then you start looking at the guys that aren't in that 11, and you realize that you not only have the best starting 11 you've ever had as a club, but you have guys that will not be in that starting 11 that are some pretty darn good, soccer players.
Yeah, you have a midfield. You have a midfield that consists of Ja'Cory Hayes, Jan Gregish, Hassani Dotson, Ozzie Alonso, Will Trapp, and in if I'm forgetting someone, I'm sorry, but in Adrian Heath's system, he usually only starts 2 of those guys or 3 of those guys if he goes to a 4-3-3. So there's going to be a lot of guys in that midfield that are sitting out that probably shouldn't be sitting out. That should be starting week in and week out.
I mean, at this point, you've got at least Ja'Cory Hayes and Ozzie Alonso on the bench.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of like those 2 guys. I think they're both great players that could help a lot of teams. And all of a sudden, you bring in a few more defenders. You've got Baki Dabasi is back now. So it's exciting. Well, we shouldn't forget the 2 goaltenders. You've
Absolutely.
got, it's Tyler Miller right now, but by the time July rolls around, it could be Dane St. Clair if Tyler stumbles a little bit, and then Dane jumps right in. So, we talked about how we can't imagine this team being able to afford having these 2 keepers the whole season. But as things roll on, and Dane, is getting some time with the Canadian national team, wouldn't it be great if they? I mean, we talked about we can't imagine them having these 2 goaltenders throughout the season. Wouldn't it be great if they did?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think those 2 guys feel that way, because they both deserve to be starters somewhere.
Absolutely.
And they both want to be starters somewhere. So they don't want this, but yet
if you have one of them go through a slump, that it's not going to be for very long, because the other one will just pop right in. You don't have to deal with the slump for very long.
And that knowing that there's a guy like that behind you waiting to play, and that's what's going to make everybody better on this team.
Yeah. Adrian's talked about it for years. Having that depth and having guys fight for every position is only going to make this team better.
Right. Right. And if a guy like, if Robin Lod is playing on the right side and you know that Ethan Finlay's right there and Ethan wants to play badly, Ethan's going to push him in practice. He's going to make him better. And this team, last year was the first year, wouldn't you agree, that you really looked at their lineup when the season started and said, this team could survive multiple injuries. They've got the depth.
Yeah, and we saw it
before
last
that,
year.
never. No.
Yeah. No, before, I think going into, what was it, the first season at Allianz, you're like, okay, it's a pretty good starting 11. Hopefully none of them get injured because then you're kind of struggling for spots. Yeah.
The bench is a little thin.
But yeah, as you said last year, and we got to see it play out, is that they had a ton of depth. They had more depth than they've ever had, and they had to use it late in the season with some injuries in the midfield, and it came through. The midfield played well last year, despite having to rotate quite heavily because of injuries.
Right.
And then you go into this year, they just add more depth, and it's just like you feel this is the best complete squad they've ever had.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's go through some of the, let's just kind of morph this, as we're already looking around the league, let's just morph this into looking around the league. We'll start off with some of the scores in the Western Conference. Which one of these sticks out the most to you? LAFC lose in the 90th minute to New York City FC. LA Galaxy get an own goal to continue their hot run, and San Jose continues their downward spiral. Sporting Kansas City, I think this one's kind of surprising. They come back after giving up a quick goal to Houston. They come back and score 3 second-half goals. Gianluca Busio, the young midfielder, just stunning everybody, continuing his rapid rise. Colorado, this is their third game out of 4 that they've scored 3 goals and a win. And then Portland just gets handled out in Philadelphia 3-0. And then Seattle, Austin 0-0.
Colorado's scoring on that pace is probably, out of that whole list of games, probably what surprises me the most.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, if you can score 3 goals a match, you're not going to lose very often.
No.
If you do, you've got some serious problems in goal or defensively. So, I mean, to me, that's kind of the number. Any team that can, for any kind of consistency, put up 3 goals a match, you're pretty. And I don't think Colorado's that good, but whatever they're doing to do it, once, twice, 3, 4 times, that starts to get kind of impressive. Now, do I think they'll continue that for the rest of the season? I doubt it. But the fact that they've done it for this long, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. Colorado up in 4th place right now in the Western Conference on 13 points, or 2 points ahead of Houston, who's sitting 5th. Yeah, I don't know that they're 4th place good. They're definitely playoff good. Robin Fraser is a really good coach. He's been a coach in waiting for so long. Finally getting his chance after the Chivas USA disaster, and that's not really his fault. It was the whole thing that happened at Chivas USA. That was a disaster. Robin Fraser showing that he shouldn't have been passed on as much as he was, and just showing that Colorado is a very good team, a very hard team to beat this year. I think the one that surprises me so far, and it's kind of the obvious one, LAFC struggling so early this season. They've had some injuries, had some players gone. They can't score goals. They've only got 8 on the season for a team that's invested as much money as they have had into that roster. It's surprising that they've only scored 8 goals so far in, 7 games? That's not a good pace for a team that aspires to win an MLS Cup.
Yeah, and that's a team that I think you have to put in the same category as Minnesota right now. They're just struggling to play to their potential. Injuries, new additions coming for Minnesota, injuries for LAFC. I think that they've got to be saying the same things that we are, is, you know what? It's early. Don't panic. They've got more injury problems than anything else, but they've got 3 weeks plus, right now. And that goes a long ways to help with injuries, and unless, of course, season-ending stuff. But for the most part, I think they will come back in the after this international break, and I think they'll be a lot better, just like I think Minnesota will.
Yeah. Next up for Minnesota is a trip down to Dallas, a team that lost 3-0 to Colorado. It was, if you look at the stats without looking at the scoreline, that's a game that you think, oh, Dallas won this one easily. 21 shots, 6 on target, 66% of the possession for Dallas, yet they cannot score a single goal in all that time. That's a team that's really struggling. 1 win, 3 draws, 3 losses on the season so far. At the bottom of the Western Conference, not a good start for Luchi Gonzalez and his Dallas side, and Minnesota will be hoping that they can pounce on that and add to their misery coming up in 19
we
days.
And we know all too well what it feels like to get shots and not score goals, and so And so hopefully that nothing changes in the next 3 weeks other than Minnesota, getting their lineup closer to being set. And I think that, that's one of those matches coming out of a long break like that where there's no excuse not to be prepared. There's no excuse not to be conditioned and ready to go. And I would rather that we were at home the first match after the 3-week break. But that's the way it goes. And I don't know what will change, in my opinion, between now and then. But I think that's a very important match for Minnesota to try and get. I hate to say, you need 3 points on the road, because in this league, you can never, if it's the worst team in, it's like, you can't go into the worst team in the West and just expect 3 points.
Yeah.
It's too hard to win on the road in this league. So this is one where you look at it and go, you know what? They really need to get 3 points coming out of this break on the road against a team that they should be able to beat. But we all know how difficult that is to do on the road.
Absolutely. Moving on past the scores of the weekend. This one breaking a couple hours ago. According to Jeff Reuter and Pablo Maurer of The Athletic, MLS is in the advanced planning stage of a lower division league that would essentially act as a link between MLS academies and the first team. It's set to start next season, would be considered third division. The MLS is aiming for a third division, qualification of it, because it means that their stadiums, the minimum stadium capacity is 1,000 seats, so they don't have to have the biggest of stadiums for them. I don't know what the minimum stadium is for a Division II side, but they want a Division III qualification, expected to launch with over half of the MLS teams fielding clubs. There's no word yet on whether Minnesota is one of them. They haven't had a lower division side. They had a brief affiliation with Forward Madison, but that one ended, I think, last year. So they really haven't had a lower division side that they were able to just rely on heavily to get some of their younger guys minutes. Spring to fall with the potential of a playoffs and no age limits on the players, so it wouldn't just be a U23 league. They would be able to play all their basically bench squad if they wanted to. I think if Minnesota gets involved in this, put them up at Blaine. It'd be fantastic.
It would make sense. There's a stadium there, and what's great about that is and I don't know the logistics, how that would work for players to go between teams, but in other professional sports, it's a great tool to have if you've got a veteran player that just needs conditioning, player's not in game shape, you've got options. But most importantly, for those young players that come out of the academy, the homegrown players, someplace they can come and from the academy and continue to play and go right into games.
Yeah,
because too often now you've got players that are sitting around. You've got our goaltender Fred Emmings.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say that playing goal every week somewhere.
Yeah, I was going to say you could get him minutes. I mean, you're not going to loan him out because he's 16 years old, so
right.
It's not going to loan him. You're going to want to keep him in here. So getting him minutes, getting Patrick Weah minutes, getting McMaster some minutes, just getting all these guys some minutes, and it'd just be fantastic if they are able to get involved in this. There's not much details on it. It's just breaking. If you want to read more about it, go over to The Athletic. Jeff Reuter and Pablo Maurer have it covered over there. It's a pretty in-depth article. Let's move on to a segment we started 2 weeks ago. We didn't do it last week because we were all watching Minnesota RSL. Really well titled here, What We're Watching. I know.
What?
It's a great title.
You think of that by yourself?
I certainly did. No help on that one. That was fantastic. Fantastic naming. Basically, normally we would do 2 games each, one MLS and one non-MLS, but because MLS is on a break, we're not going to do MLS this week. We're just going one non-MLS game. I'll start us off here. I'm going with a game that's going to kick off at 4:05 Central Time in the morning, Friday morning, because we are taking place in Australia.
You're not going to get up and watch it. Who are you kidding?
Dan, I'm not getting up. I'll already be up. Thursday is my birthday. I don't have to work Friday. I am not going to sleep Thursday night.
Wow. Man, we got to talk. Really? 4? You're going to watch? Okay.
I'm going to be playing video games till probably 3 o'clock. I'll take like a quick nap and then get up and watch the final weekend of Australian A-League action before the playoffs start. I love me some A-League. It's fun.
And then your whole birthday. You'll sleep all day.
No, I got to take care of the kids on Friday, but I'll be fine. I only need an hour. I'm good.
I get to teach your older son. What's your older son's name? I forgot.
Matthew.
Matthew. Does he know how to give Daddy a wet willy yet?
Oh, yes, he does. He loves doing that.
All right. Daddy's sleeping.
I never said what this game was. It's MacArthur FC hosting Wellington Phoenix. You look at the standings in the A-League. MacArthur FC, they're a newer squad. I believe either 1 or 2 years old. This is either their debut season or their second season. They're in 4th place in the A-League. As I said, it's the final weekend of the season. Wellington Phoenix sit 2 points out of a playoff spot. So this game means a ton to each of those teams because MacArthur FC are just, I think, 4 points away from dropping out of the playoffs. I don't think they can drop out, but it's exciting last weekend of A-League action. If you like your Australian soccer.
Right.
I know Dan's not a fan of Australian rules football, which is just insane because that's an insane sport that I have no idea what's going on and it's fun to watch.
I get a headache when I watch Australian rules football.
You don't like 22 versus 22?
It's just too much. I am going. I like watching Team USA play. So they've got a match on Thursday against Honduras in Denver.
Yep.
So that's what I'll be watching.
That is the
USA.
Nations League semifinal game. If they win, they go on to play whoever wins the other semifinal, which I believe, if I'm pulling it up correctly, bear with me, Mexico versus Costa Rica. I assume Mexico would win that one. So it'd be a Mexico-USA final in the CONCACAF Nations League final on Sunday. I'm excited to see the U.S. men's national team play. Hopefully we get to see the squad like Minnesota. Hopefully we get to see the squad that we've always been wanting to see that features Weston McKennie and Christian Pulisic together. Christian Pulisic off of winning the Champions League, the first American to win the Champions League. He didn't score a goal, unfortunately. We'll get to that in just a moment here and write that down.
All right.
But yeah, it should be a good one. I'm excited to watch the U.S. play a competitive match for the first time in a long time.
Seems like it's been forever, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, they didn't make the World Cup, so they didn't have to play a competitive match then. So it's been forever since they've played a competitive match. So let's get back to playing competitive games that mean something again.
Right, yeah. Can't wait.
All right. I know we've been kind of avoiding it for the first 32 minutes of the show. Not a good weekend, write that down.
No, it didn't go well at all.
Terrible week for you and I, Dan. So if you're new to the show, welcome. This is Loon Talk. You can find us anywhere you find your podcast. Tell a friend. Remember, rate, review, subscribe. Helps us get seen and heard by other people that don't know we're here. You can find us anywhere you find your podcast, as well as Score North's YouTube channel. You can see our ugly mugs over there. We are, if you don't know, myself and Dan Terrar, we are the radio crew for Minnesota United Radio Broadcast. So technically we're paid by the team, but for this instance, for this venture, we are paid by Score North, so we are not team employees now. So, as I like to say, we're the most unofficially official Minnesota United podcast, or as Dan likes to say, we're the best kept secret in MLS.
Shh, don't tell anybody about the radio broadcasts.
All right, so write that down every week is 3 soccer-related predictions from each of us, at least 1 Minnesota United-related prediction in those 3. We'll keep track of the correct predictions all season. We'll call the correct predictions goals throughout the year, and most goals at the end of the year wins the coveted Golden Boot. Who knows what that means at this point?
We don't know.
Let's do a quick accountability session.
Okay, where are we
Cal
at?
got one right, so good for him. He said a Minnesota United debutant will score a goal against RSL. Now, I thought when he said this that he meant Unu or Fragapane, and I'm pretty sure that's what he meant too.
You know he did, but he got a Nico Hansen fluke goal.
Off the back.
What a cheesy way to get a point. He's such a wanker.
What a lucky way to get that point.
No kidding. Yeah.
All right.
Well, you know what? He got it. That's fine.
Let's start the bloodbath now. Start with me.
That's a lot of red. Everything's red.
4 incorrect predictions on my part. I said Christian Pulisic will score at least 1 goal in the Champions League final. Well, he didn't start, so that hurt my chances there. He almost scored when he came on, but I'll take the win. I'll take the American winning the Champions League final by getting on the pitch. Man. I will take that any day. But I was wrong by saying that. I said the Loons will win at RSL just because I wanted a cheap, easy win. Cheap, easy point.
Try.
Well, they couldn't do that for me.
Nope, no chance.
I said that there were 2 games in MLS last weekend that were facing an Eastern Conference side and a Western Conference side, and I said they will split this weekend. And I figured LAFC would win against NYCFC because that was an easy one.
I would have agreed with
and
that.
I figured Portland would get stomped by Philadelphia. Well, they did. Unfortunately, Ismail Tajuri-Shradi scored a 90th minute goal for NYCFC to give them a rare road win at LAFC.
That was a stunner. I thought you had that one in the bag.
It was 0 for 2 for Western Conference teams facing Eastern Conference team this week, and I said Manchester United will win the Europa League final. And gosh darn it, we went 22 penalty kicks deep. Until David De Gea stepped up, Manchester United's goalkeeper, and was the only person to miss a goal kick or a penalty kick on the night. And Villarreal beat Manchester United in the Europa League final.
That was just crazy. Unbelievable finish.
Everybody made a penalty kick but David De Gea. I mean, the goalkeepers aren't technically supposed to get up anyways, but it happened, and, well, it happened.
It did. No, that was crazy.
Dan, let's get to you and all your red.
All right.
You said the Loons will win the next 2 matches to get 4-4.
Yeah, the tie. I should get half.
The tie ruined that right off the bat.
No. All right, and then the next one, do you know how close Michael Boxall came to scoring a goal?
Yes.
He
Is that why you put a little bit more juice on that call when he almost scored?
He tattooed a header and just missed it to the far post by, well, it was more than a few inches, but it was close. I couldn't believe it. That was tough.
You also said Mexico will shut out Iceland. Well, that got ruined off an own goal.
Come on.
Technically, Iceland didn't score, but you said they would shut them out.
Judges?
Nope, sorry. Iceland scored. It wasn't a clean sheet. And then you said Lions FC will upset Fire FC at Hazelwood Park. And if I'm remembering the score correctly, it's either 4-2 or 3-2, but Fire FC beat Lions FC. I
went for an upset. I thought Lions FC had a good match previous, and I thought maybe they were on a roll. But that's what happens when you go for an upset in the MASL Division 1.
So here's our standings for the season. No goals for me, so 0% correct. 5 goals for you, but because you had a bunch come off the board that were incorrect, your percentage correct went down from 61% to 42%. And then the guests have had only 2 come off the board. They were both Cal's. He had 1 come off the board correct, 1 come off incorrect. So they are at 50%. None for the listeners so far. They've had 2 come off the board. 2 very negative ones come off the board.
Yeah.
So, standings out of the way, Dan. I will let you start this week.
All right. Minnesota United. And I'm going to put this, I don't want to go through the end of the season, but I went back and forth on this one, saying, well, that's an easy pick. No, it's a dumb one. No, it's an easy one. So I'm going to go with it, but before the end of August, which means because there's really no games in June till the very end.
Right.
So basically in the next 2 months of playing time, by the end of August, Minnesota United will have won 4 straight.
Okay.
Because everybody makes such a big deal about they lost 4 in a row. They lost 4 straight to start the season, and they will win 4 straight. I almost said they're going to do it in July, but that's pretty aggressive.
So I take it you've looked at the schedule and figured out where this is going to happen?
Yeah, there's a stretch at the late in July. That's why at first I was going to say they're going to win them before the end of July, but there's a stretch where I think that this is likely to happen late July, early August. But they will win 4 straight before the end of August. Write that down.
Trying to pull up their schedule to see what stretch you're talking about here. Was this the Seattle?
I don't have the schedule in front of me.
End of July is tough. Seattle, Portland, LAFC, Vancouver.
Well, LAFC's not tough. Vancouver's. Yeah. So it starts
at
in
LAFC. It's at LAFC, so you can get a 90th minute winner there.
Starts in LA, and then Vancouver's terrible. So they beat Vancouver, and then I try to remember who they had early in.
They had Houston,
August.
And then LA Galaxy.
See?
So you think they're going to complete it against my boy Chicharito?
Chicharito, what's he got? Has he scored in the last month?
It's only been 2 games. He's still got 7 goals. He's still the leading goal scorer in the league.
Well, I know, but he hasn't scored in like 2 weeks.
Hey, it's my one correct prediction so far. Let's leave it.
We'll see. Time will tell.
My first write that down for the week. Either Franco Fragapane or Adrian Unu will score against Dallas on June 19th.
One or the other will score a goal.
Yeah. I said either one of them. Yep.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. You got a good chance
Write
to
that
get a
down.
point out of that. Yeah.
Write that
I mean, it's no gimme with this team, but you got a choice. You got a chance, especially with
now if
Emmanuel
both of them
Wilson.
score, then I'm screwed because then it'll be incorrect because I said either one of them.
Okay. Well, yeah, you don't want to predict they'll both score. That's
I'm
greedy.
gonna change it. Either or both. That way I'm covered if
fine.
both of them score.
That's fine. No, it's the same
Either
thing,
or
but
both.
that's fine. Yeah. Because if they both score, then we're probably going to win. So that'd be great. I'm
I like
fine
it.
with that, though. All right, we're writing that down.
Write that down.
I'm going to stay with a Loons-related one. Robin Lod playing for Finland on Friday. I'm trying to remember who they're playing. Estonia, I think. Yeah, it's a tune-up game with Estonia. Okay. Robin Lod for Finland will have 3 shots and 3 fouls suffered in that match.
That's oddly specific, but I like it. That's a dangerous pick. I like it.
I think he'll and again, I don't know how much minute, it's a tune-up, so I don't know how much time he'll play or anything. Yeah. So just going to throw that out there. Write that down.
Write that down. All right. Adrian Heath in his press conferences has usually said, I need one or two more players. Basically, since he's gotten here, 1, 2, 3 or more players. This week, before this game, he said, we're good. We have all the players that I wanted. Something along those lines. He didn't say we need more players. Yeah. And we're all surprised. We're like, we've never heard him say not 1 or 2 more players coming in, looking for 1 or 2 more players.
Who doesn't want more players?
Write that down.
All right.
There will be at least 1 new Minnesota United player before the season ends.
Okay. So basically you're saying no.
They'll make a trade. They'll sign someone.
No, Adrian, I call BS. You don't have all your players. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's a pretty easy point.
I think we were all shocked when he said, we're good. We've got the players we wanted. This is the squad I wanted all along.
Now, if you would
he quickly said, I might change my tune on that, but
yeah, if you would have said a couple weeks ago that before the season's over, Adrian Heath will say he doesn't need any more players, then that would have been amazing.
That's a home run pick. Amazing. That's a home run. Write that down.
Amazing. All right, my third pick, going back to the Minnesota Amateur Soccer League. That's my favorite. You are
going to this well again.
League
I like
Minnesota. There's an upset. No. That was last week.
I was going to say you did upset last week. It didn't pan out.
We've got Division 1, Stegman's 1977, playing Division 4, Karen FC.
Why is Division 1 side playing a Division 4 side?
I don't know, but it's there.
Okay.
It's at Coon Rapids Field number 5 on Sunday, in case you want to know.
The hallowed grounds of Coon Rapids Field number 5.
Stegman's, the Division 1 side, will score at least 5 goals against Karen FC.
5. Okay.
Write that down.
5 goals.
Yep.
I would assume it's a win, but yeah, 5 goals. I like it.
They could lose. I don't think so. They'll score 5 goals.
Hey, upsets are always there to be had when it's a 4th division side facing a 1st division side.
Yeah.
All right. For the final, write that down of the week. I'm going back to what we're watching. I'm going to say it. Write that down. The U.S. men's national team will beat Honduras this Thursday in CONCACAF Nations League semifinals.
Just a win. No predictions, no scores, no.
I'm trying to get a goal any way I can at this point. U.S. men's national team will win against Honduras.
You're not going to predict that Chicharito will sneak into the stadium and throw on a USA jersey and score 7 goals? Nothing like that?
Well, if that happens, the U.S. are getting disqualified for playing another nation's team, another nation's player. And I don't think the most popular Mexican player is going to hop aboard the U.S. men's national team anytime soon. So,
all right. I like it. Good stuff.
Hopefully I can get a goal this week so I end the misery of getting, I think 8 wrong at this point so far. It'd be nice to end that drought.
You got a few that are hanging out there that may come later, so.
Yeah, I still looking back at some of the ones that are still out there for both of us. Adrian Uno will score double-digit goals this season for Minnesota. I said that. As I mentioned, Chicharito will be the leading goal scorer this season. You have San Jose will not see the top of the Western Conference this season. You've only got 3 left hanging out there. You said the Loons will make the playoffs in 2021.
It's a slam dunk.
Cal said Minnesota will be in the top 6 in the West after the Euros. By the time the Euros ends, he said Minnesota will be in the top 6.
No, they won't.
The Euros end at the end of beginning of July. You don't think?
Oh, the
they'll be top
Euros.
six?
I thought you meant the break round now. Okay.
No.
And a July. Yeah. Well,
Beginning of July.
They probably will. Yeah.
Yeah. So
hope so.
That's what we got left on
right.
the board for. Write that down.
Yeah.
That has been Loon Talk for this week. Dan, good stuff this week. We will talk to you next week.
What are we going to talk about next week?
We're going to try and get a guest.
All right.
Once again, we're going to try and get a guest.
Cross our fingers.
That's your tease. That's your tease for next week to come back.
Don't tell anybody about radio.
Yeah, we're the best kept secret in MLS.
Because then if people start, yeah.
Should we talk about what we're going to do after the Dallas game? We're bringing it back.
Our podcast post game. What did we have a name for that?
Yeah, we used to differentiate it between Loon Talk and Loon Call. So we called those the Loon Call. So I've seen people say that they want us to do it, the immediate reactions after the game. So after the Dallas game, starting after Dallas, we will bring those back, like the 15, 20-minute long immediate reactions to what we just saw, just so we can get some content out there so people can consume some Minnesota United stuff after each and every game. We will be bringing that back starting against FC Dallas. I'm excited to do that.
And before we go tonight, the Parlay Ocean Bottle recycled jerseys were stunning. They remind me of the old Minnesota Kicks uniforms with the blue and the orange. Yeah. And I was thrilled with them, and I loved them. And then when I realized, as I looked at highlights around the league, that everybody was wearing the same colors, I felt kind of dejected and let down. So for a moment there, I was so excited. Oh,
did you get yourself one yet?
No, why?
Yeah, but it still looks cool. Still looks great.
I know. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I liked them.
Yeah, they look good.
Right.
So.
That has been Loon Talk for this week. Again, you can find us anywhere you find your podcasts. We are Score North's Minnesota United podcast. I'm Jonathan Harrison. That has been Dan Terra. You can also find us over on Score North's YouTube channel. Dan, good night.
So long. Yeah, have a good night.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a good one.